Search continues Friday morning for this missing 16-year-old girl from Cincinnati, Ohio. This is Fauna Jackson. She was in Grand Teton National Park with a service organization when her coworkers say she went to the restroom and did not return.
And crews find their first clue in a massive search for a local girl missing in Wyoming's Grand Teton National Park.
16-year-old Fauna Jackson was last seen Thursday morning. And late last night, searchers found her hiking boot, but investigators don't think she was wearing it when she disappeared. The Northside girl was doing trail work with a group called Groundwork USA. Jackson went on a bathroom break and never returned. Since then, more than 100 people, dogs, helicopters, and planes with infrared imaging have been looking for her.
At this point, no one knows for sure what caused her disappearance. All I can tell you is that we're very concerned for her welfare. We're concerned about her family, and we hope that she's found as soon as possible and that she's in the best of health.
Jackson, who's a 10th grader at Clark Montessori High School, was one of 3 teens from this area chosen to take part in the program at the Grand Teton.
We're all just so relieved that she's okay.
The search tonight is over for a missing Cincinnati teen who was gone at the Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming, but the impact of her disappearance made on those who were with her will not be forgotten.
Hello, friends. Today we'll be discussing the disappearance of Fauna Jackson. As we've come to know by now, if we've been following the case of people who go missing and disappear in our world's forests and deep woodland areas, it's always a relief when someone is found safe and relatively unharmed. We all know how quickly something can go wrong and how being found at all, let alone unharmed and uninjured, is somewhat of a miraculous event in and of itself. This case has a lot of unanswered questions, but we decided to bring you all the information we could find on it. Well, because it's still an absolute mystery as to not only why this young woman was found the way she was, but also why such extreme and drastic measures were taken by the authorities involved to protect her after she was found. Here is the case of the strange disappearance of Fauna Jackson and the aftermath. 16-year-old Fauna Jackson is from Cincinnati, Ohio, United States. She was a member of the Cincinnati Children's Choir and attended Clark Montessori High School in Cincinnati. She was on a volunteer mission in Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming with a group of about 20 other young people who were working for the nonprofit organization called Groundwork USA, which focuses on environmental and civic projects which are mainly geared towards working with marginalized groups in local communities. Groundwork USA teams are formed to work on environmental issues, improve their career skills, and take part in conservation and restoration projects. Fauna was a member of the Cincinnati Mill Creek chapter of the organization, and she and her group were working on what's only being described as a trail project by the media. This is where she was and what she was doing on the morning of Thursday, August 4th, 2016, when she excused herself to go to the bathroom, but then never returned back to the group. Of course, she was reported as missing right away, and a search began immediately. After all, this area is known as bear country, and everyone was worried about what would happen to the young woman had she been forced to spend the night outside in the dark woods. The local wildlife wasn't the only worry either, as the temperatures had begun dropping to freezing or below overnights in the park. The search began for the girl in earnest, growing into a group of 60 people, then, later, on Friday, more than 100 searchers combing the area for any sign of her. The FBI became involved, and fears were heightened when a single hiking boot was found, a discovery the National Park Service reported on Friday evening. The puzzle of Fauna's disappearance only deepened when officials reported that she was not believed to have been wearing hiking boots when she left the volunteer group the day before. Concern was mounting as each minute ticked by about the shape she would be in if she was eventually found, as severe thunder and lightning storms had moved over the area the first night she had spent missing out there. This, on top of the aforementioned freezing or below temperatures and the large bear population, were terrifying and left some feeling very dismayed about a positive outcome. Rangers searched the area, and when they couldn't find her, they called in search crews, a helicopter, Dog search teams and other authorities also took part in the 2-day search that resumed early Saturday. Missing person notices were posted in the area where she disappeared. Robin Corathers, executive director of Groundwork Cincinnati, said Jackson was excited about going to Wyoming to work on the project, and there were no indications of any problems. She did great work. She loved working outside and demonstrated leadership potential. This was unexpected, and there were no warnings, she said. This statement came hot on the heels of Fauna being found, alive and well and safe on Sunday morning, just a little more than 48 hours after she had first been reported as missing. The Wyoming Civil Air Patrol conducted flights over the park in search of her, and a combination of their surveillance and some reported sightings on the ground led to Jackson being found. The strange part of this whole situation, though, is not only how Fauna was found, but her strange reaction to the search and rescue teams who actually found her. It's all a very bizarre story. You see, Fauna was unharmed, yes, but it seems she had altered her own appearance. Though no one was able to describe what Fauna was wearing when she was found, reports were confirmed that, from the point of her disappearance to when she was found, she'd cut her hair, dyed it a different color, and was wearing different clothing. The teenager had a pack with her, but it was not yet known how she spent the 2 nights while she was missing. She was found in an area of open sagebrush close to the hills in the Grand Teton National Park. However, she was not found on the slopes of the well-known mountains in the park, where search and rescue services are more often called to help hikers or climbers in distress. She was located only about 3 or 4 miles from where she had disappeared, on a spot called the Snake River Overlook. She was a little less than a mile from a highway that leads to Yellowstone National Park. When approached by 3 rangers and a sheriff's deputy, Fauna actually fled on foot. She took off running from them and tried to get even deeper into the forest so as to avoid detection and being located again by the very people who were there to help her. The numerous agencies and volunteers who had gone out there to search for her, and the very same people who were praying for her safe return, she was running away from. After fleeing, however, the same 3 rangers and 1 deputy gave chase and managed to catch up with the teenager very quickly. When they did reach her, they had to physically restrain her. She was kicking and fighting and trying to get out of their grasp and run away again. Obviously, she did not want to be found or returned to her parents or life before she went missing. But why? Well, that's the thing. We still to this day have no answers on that. The authorities placed Fauna in protective custody and notified family members, who immediately set out to go and collect her. It had taken these family members more than 2 days to get to the Tetons when their loved one, who was very young, I might add, had gone missing. Apparently by choice and with a well-prepared plan, no less. Weren't they notified right away? Why was Fauna immediately squirreled away and placed in protective custody instead of just being detained as a regular runaway would have been? Why all the extreme secrecy and seemingly cloak and dagger practices on law enforcement and park personnel? Why the smoke and mirrors, essentially? If this was just your run-of-the-mill teenage runaway, looking to start fresh without thinking it through, as Fauna obviously hadn't been, then why was there nothing more ever reported about any of it? How had she been able to so drastically change her appearance, and actually, how do we even know it was she who did this? What was the motivation behind Fauna's disappearance, and why had she gone so far as to cut and dye her own hair? These are all questions that still remain unanswered as of the release of this video. While we are well aware of all the rumor and speculation surrounding this particular case and its aftermath, keep in mind, folks, that we are dedicated to reporting to you the facts, to the best of our ability of collecting them, and don't worry about much of all the unsubstantiated gossip involving any of the missing person cases we cover here on this channel. We hope that Fauna is doing well, as she is now in her 20s and still hasn't spoken publicly about the incident. Well, there you have it. What do you think of this strange case? I look forward to your comments on this video, but please keep it friendly and respectful. In the meanwhile, be good to yourselves and each other, and I'll see you a little farther on down the trail. I'm Steve Stockton, and I'll talk to you next time.